It's quite famously also Steve Jobs had a hand in killing that because he never allowed Flash on the iOS devices. But even when Steve Jobs said that it will not come to iOS, he said that we actually also don't need it because HTML5 will come and replace it.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't really happened.
Wordle.ai presents Game Dev and All Tech.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Game Dev and All Tech, where we talk about things related to game dev and tech, brought to you by Wordle, which is not behind me on the screen, the platform for delivering games to every platform everywhere. Our guest today is Elina from Quicksave Interactive out in Finland. And I think you guys just had your Independence Day recently, am I right?
Yeah, we did just last week.
And I love the nice Christmas decorations you got behind you there too.
Oh yeah. It's different lights coming up now. It's dark season of the year in Finland, so the kind of seasonal lights, it's definitely helping with that.
Yeah. Awesome. So, Lena, thanks for taking the time to come on the show. And I know you and we had met at very briefly this year at GDC, and I think we kind of talked a little bit, and that's kind of how we got to know one another, and especially being in the sort of same space of HTML5. So I think maybe first off, maybe talk a little bit about your background and about yourself and how you came to where you came to be as the CEO of Quicksave.
Yeah, sure. I've been in gaming for quite a while now. I think it's about 20 years that I've been in the industry. And this is also my second company already. So I founded my first startup in 2010. And that was already doing like social multiplayer games, but not in HTML5 in the beginning. But then that company, the first one, got acquired in 2015 by a social media application. So that was kind of when we shifted into doing embedded games. So for me, HTML5 and WebGL games, they've always meant even more like embedding games to different apps and platforms than kind of just the browser. Of course, the browser is also there as its own platform. But yeah, that's how we started embedding games to this one particular app, and we were part of their company. But then 2017, that was just after Facebook had launched the new instant games platform, is when we founded Quicksave Interactive, because we were looking at the market on like, okay, this is going to be a big thing because like all these big players are coming into play. And as you know as well, the market has been growing. Then WeChat came along, and a lot of different apps. Now it's also Discord, it's YouTube, it's New York Times, it's a lot of different places embedding games in their service or in the application, and that's kind of creating the growth. Of course, on the way, Quicksave Interactive has shifted also from doing games to doing more of the technology and tools, but that's kind of part of the company formation. But yeah, I've been in the games for a long time, and now already like 10 years within the HTML5 as well. So yeah.
Wow, nice. And then I mean, you were at the Facebook Instant Games, I guess, at the pretty much at the beginning. I mean, just like me, I was working with the Everwing game back then. I mean, how did you kind of see things evolve with the Facebook Instant Games platform?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely like been a longer journey that, and I think we anticipated in like getting to a point where payments work in every platform, and there's different things that are now in place. But I think like Facebook was also the first platform to really go out there with a lot of these things. So they've had to do the experimentation on behalf of some other platforms as well, so others can kind of now see like what they did and either copy or not copy the thing that was going on. Because I mean, HTML5 as a technology is easy for the developers because it's so easy to update the builds without like platform reviews. But
Yeah.
then at the same time, for platform, your review might not hold. I mean, after the review you do for a game, 2 weeks later it has some IP infringement or some other thing going on. So like that kind of how to maintain the quality of the offering. Of course, like this kind of things. Like I guess the platform and the developers have been learning on the go as it's been evolving. And yeah, now I mean very lately, like just this year. Apple kind of relaxing this no app store within app rule has
Yeah.
been good for this embedded platforms, and now Facebook has also announced that there are in-game purchases on iOS, and I think that's great. So yeah, I mean it's an evolution, but I mean we've been happy to be part of that journey as well, and we haven't launched anything in there for a while, but now there's actually something new coming for that end as well. So yeah, it's one of those, I think, OG platforms that I'm really happy to see grow and now evolve as well, still to be a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's also super great that we'll have hopefully more of the other big messaging platforms also, adapting this same sort of model as well. And especially now that Apple's gone out and said it's actually okay to do in-app purchases now. It definitely should. I hope opens a whole lot more doors, especially since like these social platforms, it's all about being able to like quickly, easily play with your friends and things like this. So it's super.
Yeah.
Super.
And when you can have like in-app purchases, it means that you can have like a higher quality, larger titles because you're not just relying on the kind of ad monetization. And I think that's kind of one misconception that we've been fighting along all the time, that people are considering HTML5 games to be only like mini games or small games, so they have to be somehow a bit worse in quality. I think there's a couple of things that have led to that, but yeah, definitely like this. An HTML5 title can be as expansive and as good as a native native mobile game. So I don't think everyone can still understands that, like how good technologically WebGL has become and how pervasive, like it's everywhere, it's in every handset. So you can do nice quality things there. And I guess one thing is that there hasn't been good enough tools. So some of the existing game engines, like Unity, they all the time talking about like they will improve it, but they still are not quite there in when it comes to WebGL performance. So if you're using like some of these existing larger titles, they might not be as optimized for this environment. Then
what would you say is like the key thing for developers who are developing for HTML5? What are some key things that they should keep in mind for trying to optimize for the HTML5 environments?
So I think two things to keep in mind. The biggest things. One is like kind of consider the tools you're using. I mean, not just like I don't want to just like advertise ours, but like like look at on like what is on the market and like what is a good, so that you get really good performance and you have a nice process. Like you shouldn't have to compromise in either. That it's a nice process, fluent process. You can iterate quickly when you're building the game, and then also you have a good performance. But then the second thing is really on like looking at the platforms. On like where do you publish, because there's so much variety and they're very different platforms now on like which one is kind of most suitable for your game. As you said, like messaging apps are all about the social features. Then there's also like some of the newcomers which have a little bit different flavor, like Discord, Telegram. There's a lot of talk about those as well. So study a little bit on like what works on that platform. I mean, there's of course two ways to do that. Either you make a game that is very wide appeal and doesn't care about the platform, you put it everywhere, or then you go and you focus more on like what is a top title for this platform and how do I be the number one here. And either one may work for you, but really paying attention to where you go, whether it's one of these embedded or it's more on the browser portal like platforms as well. I mean, there's some of these portals as well that have been growing and doing pretty nicely as well. Yeah.
Awesome. What are your thoughts in terms of the different game engines that are out there today? Do you have any specific favorites, especially ones that work well with what Quicksave offers?
So like, okay, when I've been kind of going around this topic of like we are moving into tools. So we have our own toolkit that we are also licensing to others. So it's actually working on top of Pixie. So you might know Pixie. It's a very efficient graphics rendering library. I think I guess you'll be using it at that as well. So we have these editors that we built. We call it the Quicksave toolkit. So there's a UI editor for making kind of the graphical layouts and menus and user interfaces, and then there's a machine editor which is for state machines, so kind of controlling on the states and also like working with those together with those layouts to create like nice user flows. So so that's the one obviously we use, and now we've also have done another product that is using those same editors called QSApp, and then that is also like actually a fully no-code way to do WebGL content. You can do games if you want to do a lot, like a full. Let's say you want to do Clash Royale, then you would need the toolkit and you would need the access to APIs and you would need to do some coding as well. But if you want to do some smaller WebGL elements that can be games on any website and embed those, then you could use the QSApp suite, which is actually fully no code because all these editors that we have are without any coding. They're meant for like artists and designers to use. So so that's kind of the latest on like kind of extending actually with the technology like beyond gaming now, that it could be like any website, like some e-commerce or branding or something that you want to do a bit more expressive and interactive content on. So we can kind of enable that. So so this is a thing we've been working with and what we use, of course, like internally as well. We do have a studio functionality ongoing alongside the technology that we are able to produce games, and we are now also doing games for others like partners, if there's a need for that as well. Yeah,
That's super cool. And I know you just recently was it you that was dressed up as a ninja in those little
that was actually our marketing and communications manager. Yeah. Kudos to Caro. I think our marketing team is doing some great stuff now with the videos and everything. Yeah, they're having fun with that. Yeah.
It was really funny to see. And so, what made you kind of decide to go and build the dev tool, and then subsequently the QSApp tool that you're offering now?
So the toolkit itself like started from the beginning, like back in 2017 when we founded the company. We had already tested some of the existing game dev tools out there for HTML5, and we found that all of them had some limitations or some issues or something that we didn't want to live with. So so that's why we started to first develop the tools for ourselves. And in the beginning we didn't have an idea on like licensing them to others. That started like less than 2 years ago, like maybe a year and a half ago. We were first like talking with someone and they wanted to evaluate our tools as well, and that they actually were liking them, and we were like, okay, like actually this is like a final push on like why don't we do this as well, like if somebody wants to use the tools, and we should kind of put them out there. So that was kind of like a natural evolution. The QSApp thing is a bit more disruptive in a way that came actually this year, just over summer. Our product, the chief of product, was thinking on this, like, because we had some discussions on like how do we go with React and like this like more traditional websites, and then he started to think like, well, why couldn't you embed it on a React website? Like, it's like super easy, like you can have an iframe, or you can different ways to embed that, and actually we have these tools that are no code, so why don't we just kind of package this a bit differently, and so the new product is based on the same technology that we've been building for 7 years now. but it actually came now pretty quickly, just during the autumn, that we are now able to actually, we're just starting to now sign in first customers for this new product. So it's pretty exciting times. And yeah, so that was kind of starting to think on like what else we could do with this with this thing, and how could we embed these things, because frankly, I think the web has become a little bit boring. Like a lot of the websites, they have all the same kind of layout, the same kind of like it's very the same kind of things on all the websites, and you should be able to stand out easily. And I mean, the reason obviously is that doing WebGL content is pretty difficult. It takes time, it takes coding, so it becomes expensive, and then yeah.
Especially if you're like somebody from like as a graphic designer or somebody that doesn't have any coding experience, like you'll probably get hate for this, but your typical sort of like WordPress guy probably is going to struggle with trying to do fancy WebGL or HTML5 stuff. So super cool to hear you're kind of offering this sort of solution. I guess one thing that comes to mind for me though is also like, I remember there was a time way back when we had, everyone wanted like a fancy Flash website, and so then how does what you're doing with QApp, how is it going to be different or better than the good old days of everybody having Flash websites?
Yeah, it's nice that you bring up the comparison, because we also like to say that we are like Flash but better. but I mean, there was those times with good old times with Flash when there was more kind of interactive stuff around, because people were used to building it with Flash, and it's quite famously also Steve Jobs had a hand in killing that, because he never allowed Flash on the iOS devices, and obviously it had its issues with security and power consumption, and how I mean, Steve Jobs had a number of issues with that, which were quite well qualified as well to have to be an issue. Also, it had this browser plugin, so it was a little bit kind of clumsy to use. But even when Steve Jobs said that it will not come to iOS, he said that we actually also don't need it, because HTML5 will come and replace it.
Yeah.
And it still hasn't really happened. Like HTML5 definitely has the capability to replace Flash, but we do need these better tools that it's easier to do that, because if it's very expensive and hard, it's not happening. Like the people are not still creating the content, even though they could. Technically, they could, like if they went through all the trouble. So I think we need to make it more easy, so that it's more democratized to access that power, and like you can do cool things more easily.
Right. Like, and I guess what you're doing, that's probably one of the problems that you're trying to solve with QApps QApp. So that's super cool. So I guess it's like Flash, but democratized, HTML5 interactive websites, I guess. How would you maybe then describe it to just like normal people, what QApps are?
Yeah. So I mean, at the simplest, it can be like an interactive button, something that you can press, and there comes like the navigation can be done with that. I can actually show just a little bit, maybe here, if the screen share works. I can see if this comes up. Yeah, so this is like a small React website that we've done that showcases some of these QS apps. I mean, there's a small game here. I mean, this one is pretty much filled with QS apps, but it's it's like you can see, like it's a React website that then has these things like embedded, and they are like interactive, so they are definitely like clickable, and you can interact with these pieces of content as well, and this kind of buttons can be like also like kind of more expressive, and you can have different kind of like depth in your content very easily. There's another example. This one is a bit different style, and I know the video call actually doesn't quite give credit as as some of the background effects, and there's a little bit of smoke going on the left side of the screen, but they might not transfer in the call. But generally, like these kind of things, like it's very easy to accomplish. So yeah, this is like yeah, something that you would have done with Flash before, I would say.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
No, it looks super awesome. And I remember, I don't know if it's still the case, but your website had like the little different floating islands and things. And I noticed, so it was your homepage was even, HTML5 enabled. So I always thought that was super cool that you were also not only talking the talk, but walking the walk with your even your main homepage.
Yeah, especially the studio website is actually done fully with the editors. It's no code, has these kind of floating islands there. So yeah, we're kind of like bringing these QS apps and expressive content to our own website. I mean, that's always the hardest thing on like, hey, you have a lot of things going on, and then like, okay, actually our own own stuff should like display these things as well. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And then I guess what's coming in the future for Quicksave Interactive that you can share without getting into trouble?
No, like I mean, definitely we're now keep working on this QS app, and bringing that to kind of to more customers, to more partners, to different areas, developing it based on the needs of like what we hear on people wanting from it. Things like we're now working on like adding more templates to those, so that you can even easier like start with like the basic models and buttons and things you would probably want to first try, and then you can like learn your way to do more deeper content. At the same time, like we're still having now as I said, like the studio function. So there are some games we can work on with partners, and or there's one coming out now that has been in development quite a while, that is coming out as well. It's been kind of on the side, but that's coming out. So lots of actually a lot of interesting cool things going on. I mean, I guess you must agree that the last like 12 months or so has been seeing a lot of activity in the HTML5 space. Like there's much more like there's new platforms, but there's also new players and new companies looking into on like how can we get in. And I would encourage that. Yes, I mean, do take a look, because the market is definitely growing, and there's a lot of opportunity, especially for like kind of, I would say, good quality game to stand out. The market has all the time been kind of I would say having too little good content. I mean, I think it's a function of like people don't have access to the tools and the knowledge, and it feels somehow difficult, or it seems like, well, it's kind of like an afterthought maybe. And I do think it's gonna take as a more central stage in the industry as a whole. But yeah, we totally will keep up with the HTML5 and kind of like working with the QS app and bringing that out even more. Yeah.
What are your sort of thoughts on we, up until now, it's just been predominantly WebGL, but then we've also got some of this other technology like WebAssembly coming out, and then was it Web GPU? How would you draw the comparisons and sort of movements in those areas?
Yeah, like we're definitely looking like kind of where the development is on like how can we be at the top of the tech stack, but some of these new things like Web GPU, I think it's getting a lot of hype, but then again, like one reason might be that people are still underestimating what you can already do. Like WebGL right now can do more than people realize. So I don't think you need to wait like, hey, let's wait when Web GPU is available in every device, and like then we can do cool stuff, and
Yeah.
like the world will be ready. The world is already ready for for like good quality WebGL content. The Web GPU certainly will help in kind of the highest demanding cases. Like let's say you want to do AAA console quality title on WebGL or in web, then yes, every kind of this graphics accelerations and all the different powers that can be is probably needed. But if you are doing good quality mobile gaming, for example, you can already do that. So like I think the limit of what you can do is it's much higher than people realize. But yes, it's exciting that there is development, and we will get to more and more on par with the with any kind of platform. And one great thing that I see with the browser technology is that it's kind of everywhere. Like every screen has a browser. Like you can think of like cars and TVs, shopping malls. Like this, there's always a browser. So if you do your game with WebGL, there's a lot of possibilities on like where to distribute and where to go, and you can still be on desktop and you can still be on mobile as well. So don't give away the old platforms, or you can embed to different applications. So yeah, I do think there's a lot of exciting opportunities, and these new technologies and evolving stuff will just help. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then what would you say you think the big trends are going to come out of next year, 2025?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see like what will be the kind of hit games on this area, on like what will be the genres and the types of games that will do the big breakthroughs. And also, I'm really interested to see how the platforms will evolve. As we said, like earlier, we were talking about Facebook instant games going through like a long journey of different developments on like having it more open and having it a bit more partnered, and doing the reviews and all that. And I think a lot of the platforms that are newer are also on their own journey. One thing that I wish the platforms will really take a look at is like how do they build the kind of customer loyalty things like retention basically for the games, because that has been one point that WebGL games have been criticized on, like that it's hard to keep retention. But with these platforms, it's also a lot about how they organize themselves around that. Are there good recommendation algorithms? Can you flag your favorite games? Do you have your own games category? I mean, some of these platforms, it has been frankly hard to find the game back. Like find your, like one day you play a good game on a given embedded platform, and then the next day you are like, hey, yesterday I played a great game. How do I get the back there? And you can find the game. I mean, that's not a fault of the game or the game developer if it's made super hard to get back. And I think the platforms are getting this. So and obviously. I mean, VChat is running a huge business already, and I think this is one point that they've gotten right very well, that if you play a game on VChat, it appears in your own games category, like there's an own menu item for like just like games that I've played. So so like they kind of optimize more for the retention than the initial discovery, because I think the discovery on these platforms is not an issue. Like you can get viral users, you can get like the user acquisition is cheap if you do it, and so forth. So I think the distribution and user acquisition has always been working on these different platforms, and what hasn't been always as good, I do admit, there hasn't been the retention. So, but also hoping to kind of see these platforms evolve with that, because it's also up to the platform a lot on how they build that, because then everyone will be happy. The players will find the good games that they already like as well, and the developers will be happy. They will have a sustainable business, and then the platform also gets the best games. So yeah, I mean, that's what needs to happen. It needs to be like a win-win-win for any one platform to kind of drive. And of course, now there starts to be competition between these platforms as well, and like kind of who gets to be the one where your game for certainly is. Of course, you can put it in usually in other places as well, but yeah, like what are the top platforms? Yeah.
Awesome. And then, I mean, I kind of share a lot of those, and same feelings, and I've seen similar sort of numbers across, the different ecosystems, and certainly I think a lot of the platforms are starting to realize some of the inherent issues, and trying to create more of a sustainable market. So it's good to see the market, sort of move that way, I think. So, really looking forward to, how things will play out and evolve as people start to realize the opportunities that are out there with HTML5.
Yeah.
And then, do you still play games now, or have you given that up?
I do play games. I do have too little time to play kind of on my own. Like if I would choose, like I would spend a little bit more time with the PlayStation as well. We do have a Baldur's Gate 3 campaign still ongoing. We are not as far as we should be in the time we played with it, at least in calendar time.
Yeah.
But then also I do play sometimes games with our kids.
Right.
Our daughter plays DTI, so that's Dress to Impress in Roblox.
Yeah.
If you don't know the terms, like, but DTI should be pretty known. So I played that a bit lately with our daughter, and then I do play some mobile games as well. Yeah.
What's your mobile game of choice right now?
Well, right now I actually I still keep being stuck with the Merge Mansion, so that's my current one. But yeah, I keep shifting and I keep trying things on the side. But I've been going back to that one for a bit now. So yeah, yeah.
Awesome. And what was the very first game that you ever played?
Oh, that I ever played. Well, I have a big brother, and he got the computer first. I think we had a Commodore, and we had some of the early computers. So the first ones were when he needed the little sister to come play along. So that was like a Bomberman or Rampart, or some of these, like, you need at least two players. so I was like, okay, I have to invite you, and I was of course excited. I was like loving it. So I was happy he was inviting me along to play. And then of course we did get also some of those early consoles, like we had a NES at a time, but even more I remember the Sega games like Sonic. We were playing Sonic quite a bit, and some of these titles back in the day as well. So yeah, I've been playing games since I was I was a kid, but I didn't know yet as a like, say, like a 7-year-old that, hey, I'm gonna do games as a living.
Right.
That came later. That came in like high school when internet became a thing, and it's kind of funny. Like it's like a full circle that now I'm like putting like interesting things on, like making internet to become alive. When the whole thing started with the internet, on like, hey, I was finding these online spaces and friends and making real friends online, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to be part of this. And so like I went to computer science, and I went to kind of like, and then the games became like the ultimate online experience that that you can create with your friends. So then, yeah, it kind of crystallized as its games. Yeah.
Did you actually make any games yourself?
No, I mean, while studying, sure, like I was studied computer science, and back in the day, there wasn't actually like a lot of game studies available,
Yeah.
but some like you have to do a software project. So they allowed us to have a software project that was a game. So,
Oh,
so we were kind of tweaking as much as we could, kind of customizing the computer science studies to be about games. Um, but yeah, I think that was the earliest probably. Like I didn't start coding much before. So yeah.
do you think your computer science background kind of gives you an edge as a CEO and the spot that you're in?
Um, I do think it does, yes, because I find it easy to talk about tech stuff, and I do understand some of the language with the the programmers. I mean, I don't know, like I don't claim to know like the latest of like how to do something. I mean, I haven't been programming for quite a while because I've been in the CEO role now in 2 companies already, so that's like 14 years,
Yeah.
and even a little bit before that, I was doing a more management role. So it's been a while, but I did start as a programmer in the industry, and even still now it does help me. And I mean I can talk about talk about things, and I understand things a bit more easily, I think, than if I didn't have that background. So yeah, definitely it helps.
Great. And then for people who are trying to get into the whole HTML5 and game development, what would you say are some sort of I don't know, tricks or tips for trying to break in and make it?
Yeah. So I mean, the industry has evolved so much in the past 20 years that now there's a lot of tools available. There's no code tools, there's other tools, there's ours, there's others, like there's tools available that a single person can create a game. And you have AI, you can take like, mid-journey graphics and then, I mean, if you are not a graphics person either. So like there's so many tools now that if you want to make games, I would just start making games now, because like it is that the barrier of entry into like making something alive on the screen it's much lower than it was 20 years ago. So like getting a job in the industry is much easier if you have a portfolio of something to show on, like, hey, I've done this, because you learn so much by doing.
Yeah.
And in the gaming industry, what I love about it is the kind of like very positive attitudes towards people trying out, and everyone knows that like launching a game, like getting it out there, is a huge milestone. It's very easy to start. It's very easy to have half a game. Well, it's not very easy, but it's like when the game looks 80% done, it's probably like halfway there in the effort and the sweat you have. I mean, the last there's like the last 10% or the last 20, that's the hardest. Or like actually, because it's not like a software that needs to fill a minimum use case. But it's more like, oh, I want to do this more, and it would be so. I mean, this is so fun, and you start inventing these these features and requirements as you go along, and it starts growing and growing. So, but keeping that discipline on, like, hey, we want to release this title, and like getting it out there, that's a huge milestone. So I think anyone, you would learn yourself from that, but then also yeah, everyone who would be looking to hire you would also appreciate that effort that you put in getting it out. And then HTML5 is a great place to experiment, because there's so many platforms where you can actually very easily publish your title and see how it does.
You actually get like user traction and feedback.
Yes. I mean, that's the best. Like when you get your players playing the title, and you can see like how they're reacting with it. Yeah.
I always know people actually like the game if you start seeing complaints come in a little bit, like so something is somewhat broken with the game, like like, okay, we got something here.
Yeah. I mean, that's true. Like that's true. Like if you get like feedback on like, hey, you should improve this and this, that's positive, because then the people have played it and they care. They care enough to tell you. Like if they don't care about the game at all, like they won't go through the trouble of like sending any message. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And then you just brought up actually, one of the big topics that's been, I think for this year, which has been AI. I'm curious what your thoughts are on AI and how that's actually going to impact the gaming industry and what's going on in HTML5.
Yeah, so AI definitely is already here. It's not just even coming, it's already here. Pretty much everyone that I know in the industry is using AI in some fashion already to help them. I mean, it can be a coding help, it can be help with your texts, marketing text, game text. It can be helpful in getting, especially like getting drafts of like inspiration, or like you used to have this kind of blank page problem on like, where do I start? So ask AI and it gives you a start. And then you might disagree on like, hey, I don't like this, but you have something, and then you can work on that. And then also kind of fine tuning in the end. For example, of course, I'm creating somewhat text-based for things. So if I have some text and my English is obviously not a native English, so then I can ask the AI to fix some of my sentences, and sometimes it does. Like not to take everything from AI, because that still has the flavor of like everyone recognizes that this is AI. So you do it yourself, but then just ask like, okay, how do I say this thing actually, like translations and things, and yes, so we do have like a kind of AI available for running the team, and we do use that a lot. That being said, like how much does AI reflect in the end products? Like how many games will be like where users interact with AI? I mean, I do think there will be a section of like kind of like high quality UGC, so user generated content, where you can just prompt a game, and those platforms are already coming, and some of them look quite amazing, and that will definitely be a thing where you can create your own game just by prompting. But I do think that will not be the only category of gaming that we will have. It will be one of the categories. We still want to have games that are more custom made, tailored. They have some brand involved that is a very quality conscious brand, for example. So you cannot allow things to kind of in the UGC is a bit more experimental. It's super fun and it's very easy and it's going to be a big thing, but also like there's going to be other things that are that are still made by humans with the help of AI. Like I'm sure the AI will be part of the process and helping, and it already is. It will allow things to be done faster, and kind of smaller teams may be able to achieve a little bit bigger titles and so forth, like content wise. So definitely I see it as a good kind of like an opportunity. And of course there is some very also like how can you enter a market if you are a junior. I think for juniors now it's also very, very important to learn to use the AI. Like how can the AI help you? Because some of the existing companies or existing employees are still kind of might be a bit slow in like adapting it. Like okay, we know it's there, and let's start to use the little by little. But then if you are an employee whose productivity is double because you know how to use it already, so actually it can also like increase your value as an employee if you know how to use it well. So I mean it's really hard to kind of fight against it in this time of like, because it is there, it's already happening, people are using it. So definitely it will be a big part of the industry as well. Yeah.
Awesome. And I think it's definitely part of our product and everything that we do at Mortal as well. So it's definitely important. And I think was it Nick Jensen from NVIDIA said it best, is that AI isn't going to take your jobs. It's people who use AI that are going to take other people's jobs, which I think is pretty relevant here.
Yeah, that may be. So people, I mean, it's very easy to learn to use AI because it's so available. Just start practicing, like in your personal life as well. Like ask questions and see about the limits and what can you do, and it may surprise you on how much like helpful things you're hearing from it. I mean, in our product we are saying that it's a no code tools. We are looking into like integrations, of course, because you can do things like you can take graphics from ChatGPT or Midjourney or your sort of AI and then put them into your QS app. So yeah, I mean it's not
That's cool.
you can prompt it, but of course you can use these components for sure. Yeah.
Oh, that's a great idea. Awesome. And I think we're kind of at time now. It's been a great conversation, and so the floor is now yours to promote anything and anything that you want. So, please.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I've been already introducing the company and what we do. So I'm always happy to chat if people are interested in more information on HTML5 or you're interested in our tools or collaborating on games. So just reach out. I can be found in LinkedIn. If you write a message why you are reaching out, I'm pretty easy to connect to. And of course, Quicksave you can find on our website quicksave.fi. And there's more information about the studio and the tools as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Elina. Thank you so much for all the time here today, and hope to chat again soon. I've been your host, Will Bohn, brought to you by Laurel, which is in the background. I'm here on a deserted island this time, and this has been Game Dev and All Tech, not the Wordle channel, as our previous guest had said. Thanks, everybody.